you've been using SPM for any extended period of time, you know that running contrast and manually inserting all those ones and negative ones and 0.5s and negative 0.2s and everything, it takes a long time. If you have a ton of regressors, it takes forever, and it can drive you insane. You're not a man until you've done that and suffered, by the way. But once you have, there is an easier way to do this. Now, this was actually an approach brought up by one of my readers, Johannes. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Johannes actually pointed out something you can do within the SPM batch. Okay, and I'm actually furious I didn't think of this first. I kind of look like an idiot because I haven't thought of it first, but it works very well, and it's a very good reinforcement of some stuff we've already talked about with running SPM stuff from the command line and how that interacts with some stuff you do in the graphical user interface. So here's the approach for it. Just a caveat, you need to make sure that every session or run within every subject is structured the same way. So you have the same order of regressors and that you have the same number of sessions between subjects. All right. Later on, at a future date, I'll show you how you can get around this using some more complicated code. But this approach is very useful, very powerful. It'll save you a lot of time. It'll save you a lot of money. It'll save you a lot of women. Kind of. I don't know about that last one. But anyway, so here is how we're going to do this. First of all, so just to show you what I'm dealing with here, I'm going to load up one of these .mat files just to show you what this thing looks like. So I load up one of my spm.mat files, which I've estimated. Okay, go to my design matrix. So notice here there are 5 runs, or in SPM parlance, there's sessions. And if I right click, I can hold that down. Oops. Right click, there's parameter 1, left and right. Okay, let's say I'm just interested in a simple contrast like left and right. Okay, you can take the stuff we're going to talk about and apply this to tons of regressors, tons of contrast, that's fine too. But, you know, overall I have a ton of parameters. Yeah, I have, I think, 50? Yeah, 50 parameters, that's a lot. And so if I were to go to the results and try to make a contrast and type in, you know, 1, -1, and skip over to here, 1, -1, for all those different parameters, it would take a long time. So we're going to try to make that automated to reduce the risk that you're going to screw something up, which you will. I mean, I screwed up stuff all the time, and I still do. But this will make it a little bit easier, a little bit better. So this first part of this tutorial, we're just going to go over how to do that through this interface, save it out as a MAT file. In the second part of the tutorial, we'll actually talk about how to run that MAT file in a batch job from the command line and be able to loop it over a ton of subjects. Okay, so I go to tasks right here. Okay, this is the SPM graphics window. Go to stats and then contrast manager. So notice again, and if you've seen something similar to what we've done before, what we're doing is basically, we're kind of clicking on results. We're going to contrast, typing in something. We're doing the same thing through this batch and then saving it as a bunch of commands in a structure, or a bunch of code in a structure that we can run from the command line. So go to stats, I go to contrast manager, and so here is the deal. Notice all these steps, again, very, very similar to what we would be doing if we're just doing this straight from the GUI. But we're creating a MAT file, which will do all this for us. So I go into the directory where I have my spm.mat file. Yeah. Okay, so just select the one which has all of these regressors all loaded up. It's already been estimated. And I go to new T contrast. Let's just say I'm interested in a simple contrast, not some ANOVA, some nonlinear thing, but just a simple contrast of left minus right. I use left minus right just as a surrogate for any kind of contrast you could possibly be interested in. This is the easiest one because I know what I'm going to find, and it's pretty simple to interpret. For the contrast vectors, so here is kind of where the rubber meets the road. Here is why I recommend you have equal number of sessions between subjects. What we in general want to do when calculating these fMRI contrasts is make sure that the positive weights for one regressor sums to +1, and the negative weights for the other contrast, the other regressor, sums to -1. Okay, the reason for that is because we want to be taking the average, okay, across all those different sessions. Yeah, because then when we compare across subjects, we're taking the average, and it's a little bit easier to interpret than if we just use 1 and -1. So because there are 5 sessions, each of the weights are going to be 0.2. Okay, so for the positive ones, 0.2, for the negative ones, -0.2. Yeah, so because the very first parameter was 0.2 and the second parameter was the second thing I'm interested in, I'm going to make that negative 0.2. Okay? Now, it'll be zero padded. I could add in a bunch of other zeros, but just remember that it'll be zero padded. If these parameters were, say, in the second and third slots, I could add a 0 just so that it would skip over the first parameter. But this is a case where, they're just the first and the second one, so it's 0.2 and negative 0.2. Enter that, go to replicate over sessions, okay, and I do want to replicate, so it's going to put that same vector for every session. So that means I don't have to have a gigantic string, a gigantic vector across all the sessions. I can just do it for one session and then replicate it. Okay? If you want to, you can just delete what's already in there. That's usually a wise choice. And then we're going to save this out. Yeah? Yes? We're going to call this run contrast. Okay? It already exists because I've done this to troubleshoot it. And I'm going to hit yes. Okay, so that is how you load it up from the batch part of SPM. Okay, this is the batch GUI, I like to call it, the tasks thing in that SPM window. Okay, so in the second part, what we're going to do is actually use that to iterate over a couple subjects. You can extend this to however many subjects you want, as long as they have the same number of sessions, same order of parameters, and I'll show you how to do that in the next tutorial.